Hello AP Physics students. Today I want to go over what you will need for your lab notebook. So throughout this course, we will be completing labs in each unit. Every unit has a different number of labs, but we'll be doing a total of 18 labs throughout the year. With each lab, you will be required to complete a write-up in your lab notebook. Now, what lab notebook you use is up to you. I currently have with me just a standard spiral notebook, but a composition book, anything that is comfortable for you, you can use as your lab notebook. At the beginning of your lab notebook, you're going to want to leave probably 2 pages, I would say, to use as your table of contents. This will allow me and you to be able to find each lab that we've done throughout the year. In the table of contents, you will list the labs that we do and then the page numbers that they're on. So for example, lab 1, which is motion on an incline. That would be found on page 1. So after you leave your 2 pages blank, your 2 pages for your table of contents, you would go here, motion on an incline. Make sure you rewrite the title, date it as well, and then put the page number in the bottom so that you know it's easy to find. So table of contents, list each lab, and then the page number that it's associated with. So as you go through the book, you'll mark each page number, 2, 3, and so on. So you'll complete these lab notebooks when you've completed the lab. And these are the following things that need to be included. You need to list the objectives. They can be found in the lab. Please paraphrase them. Do not copy them exactly as they're written. Paraphrase the objectives and what it is you're trying to do with this lab. You then also need to include a materials list. All the items that you needed to complete the lab. So for this one, those would be things like Logger Pro, the LabQuest Mini, a motion detector, the track, a cart, and books for the incline or for elevation. You also need to include a drawing or a diagram depicting the lab setup. Now you may choose to do that through Word or Google Doc and use different shapes to create it, or you can draw it by hand. However, if you're drawing it by hand, please make sure that it is very neat and organized. As with everything else in here, I need to be able to read it, so make sure that it's legible. So I'm not an artist, but here would be my drawing of a cart with a motion detector. So here's the track, and what's nice about doing it by hand is you can draw arrows or lines from your materials list right on to your drawing. And then there would be a standard cart. Your books for elevation. There's going to be a motion detector on the back. So it'll be your motion detector. And from the motion detector, you plug it into the LabQuest Mini, which then gets plugged right in to your laptop, which is where Logger Pro is. Okay, so something along those lines. More often than not, there is a pre-lab question or investigation that you're asked to draw a conclusion before doing the lab. So make sure that is completed as well. You then need to list the procedure that was taken. It does not, again, need to be word for word. It can be paraphrased, just the major topics that were done, but make sure to include everything that was important in a successful completion of the lab. And then last but definitely not least is the evaluation of data or data. That is where they will ask you questions based on the data that you have collected throughout the lab to make inferences about what it is that your objectives were. So this is where you would include any charts or tables that they had asked throughout the lab for you to complete. You also may want to show some calculations or formulas here based on what the lab is asking for. Okay, so these are the requirements for each lab. It will take multiple pages, and then, like I had mentioned, each lab should have the title at the top along with the page numbers, and then at the beginning, there should be a table of contents for each lab that we'll complete. If you have any questions, especially in the first few, please don't hesitate to ask.